You're listening to GWP Live. I'm your host, Isaac Hedges, joined once again by co host Jacob Fulmer. Today is Friday, March 6th, 2026. We are following an ongoing severe weather cycle. Again, following things as they develop. If you've been with us through the night, we thank you for staying with us. Of course, certainly for those across our listening area, a number of threats in the area, a number of severe thunderstorm warnings, which we are tracking. Of course, there was a tornado sighted across Oklahoma, and again, that same tornado warning, again, as we covered in the last live stream, has now expanded into southwest Missouri, there into McDonald County. We've unfortunately already had a couple of injuries. A truck rolled over just outside Lamar, Missouri, and a piece of a house that flew off, injuring a person outside of Columbus, Kansas. So, not clear at this point the condition of those people injured. So, certainly very dire conditions. Certainly, those people could use your prayers. Again, oftentimes these things can cause very severe injuries, and that sort of just goes to show, as we've been saying all night. Again, and not to overly belabor the point, but at the same time, we draw this attention to it for a reason, even if it's not yet a tornado, just a severe thunderstorm warning. Again, something like that still is a credible threat, still is capable of damage, as we've seen already tonight. So, again, don't let that happen to you. Again, throughout these storm cycles, if you can help it, if you can do anything about it, you want to just stay inside. Jake, what are things looking like at this point?
Yeah, so right now you'll notice that currently across the country, we've got 6 severe thunderstorm warnings, 1 tornado warning, and 3 flash flood warnings. And so we've got severe warning across Iowa, severe warning across Mississippi at this point in time. And then, as we mentioned, we've got a couple of flash flood warnings around the Tulsa area. And then there is a flash flood warning across Joplin. With those severe thunderstorm warnings, we've got one across southeastern Oklahoma, and then we've got one across northeastern Oklahoma, and then a couple here in the state of Missouri. And then the one tornado warning that we do have in really just in the country overall is here in the state of Missouri. So let's get some more information on that first. First and foremost here, tornado warning continues until 10:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. This goes in effect for the area. We're looking at the possibility of a tornado as well as some quarter-size hail. So we've got Anderson, Goodman also under that tornado warning as well. So this is a radar indicated threat, which means that we don't have a confirmed tornado at this point in time, but that doesn't mean that it's not on the ground, because it certainly could be. So radar indicated threat at 10:13 p.m. Severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located around the Anderson area, which was just to the west or northwest rather of Pineville, and it's going to continue to move to the northeast at about 40 miles per hour. So we're going to have to continue to watch that. So you need to take shelter in the lowest, most interior room possible of a sturdy structure if you are across that area in McDonald County. We've also been tracking some other thunderstorms here across the state of Missouri. We've got a couple of other severe thunderstorm warnings to contend with. We've got this one here across Cedar, Polk, Lawrence, and Greene counties. So these are some of the same areas that were just affected by that storm to the northeast of this area. And this goes for 60-mile-per-hour winds. This is a radar indicated threat. Again, this goes until 11 p.m. with some of those stronger wind gusts. Damage to roofs, siding, and trees is going to be possible. That same area was affected by this storm, which has now moved just to the east of the Lake of the Ozarks area. This severe thunderstorm warning going until 10:30 p.m. remains in effect for 60-mile-per-hour winds. At 10:17 p.m., severe thunderstorms were located along a line extending from near Lake of the Ozarks to 9 miles northwest of Richland to 7 miles northeast of Lebanon. At this point in time, this is a radar indicated threat, which again means that there is no confirmation that we have these severe winds. That Boeing segment is right here. That leading edge of the line of thunderstorms is where we could see those 60-mile-per-hour winds. Lake of the Ozarks and Osage Beach have recently seen these strong winds, and we'll have to continue to watch that as we go forward in time. So we've got both of those severe thunderstorm warnings. We've also got one additional severe thunderstorm warning just to the southwest of that tornado warning. This goes in effect across northeastern Oklahoma until 11 p.m. Central Standard Time. This goes for 60-mile-per-hour winds and some non-severe hail up to around nickel size. This is a radar indicated threat across Craig, Delaware, Ottawa, and Mays and Cherokee County across northeastern Oklahoma. Again, radar indicated threat until 11 p.m. We've also got a flash flood warning that is in effect across the Joplin area, extending through Carthage and into Jasper. This has been observed, so this is an observed threat, and this goes across Cherokee County, Kansas, Jasper and Newton counties in Missouri until 3:45 a.m. Central Standard Time. So we've got that flash flood warning in effect. So, okay. So we have some new information that just came into us. Actually, I've got two pieces of information. We have two new warnings that were just issued. We just had an extension on the tornado warning in McDonald County, and we also had a severe thunderstorm warning that was issued where I'm at here in Columbia. So we've got two different things to get to right now. We'll start with the tornado warning since that is the higher threat at this point in time. So here it is. That tornado warning has now been extended. This is a radar indicated threat. This goes for Newton and McDonald County. So this is still south of Interstate 44, which is southeast of Joplin. And so we're looking at a tornado possible, quarter size hail. Again, this goes until 11 p.m. At 10:19 p.m. Central Standard Time, a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located near Goodman in Missouri, or 8 miles to the southwest of Neosho. This is going to continue to move towards Neosho, or at least maybe just to the south of Neosho. Neosho is under that tornado warning. And again, this goes in effect until 11 p.m. This has a history of producing tornadoes, this particular storm in the area of Oklahoma. But at this point in time, it has not been confirmed of whether or not it's on the ground. Part of the reason for that is because it could be rain wrapped. So again, take cover now, move to the most interior room on the lowest floor of a sturdy building, get away from windows. A storm shelter would be even better. Some of the cities that are going to be impacted by the storm would be Neosho, Granby, Goodman, Diamond, Fairview, among many others across the area. So again, that goes in effect across Newton and McDonald County for the possibility of a tornado, with even the possibility of some quarter size hail on the north side of the storm that is producing that rotation.
Absolutely, some important information there. Of course, as we previously mentioned on that tornado warning, of course, at this point is still a radar indicated threat. And again, we previously made distinctions between that and again, warnings frequently where the event, the tornado in this case, has actually been observed. Now, again, ordinarily that is cause to believe that that's again a little less credible, a little less serious of a threat because no one's seen it. But this is not an isolated radar indicated threat, as we previously mentioned. This is part of an ongoing tornado cycle. Again, we've seen throughout the night. It's already produced tornadoes, so it already has a history of it. And again, that makes it more likely that it'll produce another. And it would be in character, as we mentioned previously, for it to produce a tornado. And it's likely the case here that it is rain wrapped, which of course makes it more difficult to see, to decide it, to observe it, detect, and report, as it were. So an important distinction to make on that front. And Jake, it's my understanding that we have another update. You mentioned another update on one of those severe thunderstorm warnings in our area.
Yes, we have now a severe thunderstorm warning where I'm located at here at the University of Missouri, including Columbia. This is just to the north of Jefferson City, around the Ashland area, and this is for Boone, Cole, and Montauk counties across central Missouri. At 10:25, a severe thunderstorm was located along a line around the Rocheport to near Jamestown, along a line 13 miles west of Columbia and 7 miles northeast of California. California, Missouri. California, Missouri, that's a town, not a state. Well, it is a state, but in this case, it is the town. Moving east, so this bow echo right here is moving towards the east at about 45 miles per hour. We're looking at the risk of some 60-mile-per-hour winds as well as a little bit of small hail. The hail is right here in this white area, kind of in the center of the storm. And so that's just to the southwest of Columbia. So this hail core is likely going to pass just towards the south of Columbia along Highway 63 is likely where we would see that hail threat. And then, of course, the wind threat is going to be all along this Boeing segment right here. So 60-mile-per-hour winds. And then again, some of the damage that we could see across the area, we've got damage to roofs, siding, and trees as well. Locations under this severe thunderstorm warning include California, Jamestown, and then we've also got Columbia, the Columbia Regional Airport, as well as Ashland and Centralia. Those are some of the larger towns that are under the severe thunderstorm warning. Again, that goes in effect until 11 p.m. for the possibility of some 60-mile-per-hour winds. And I can confirm at this time that we are getting some light rain. I'm just looking right outside my window, big bolts of lightning off towards the west, it appears. Or or excuse me, that's the southwest, a
Uh,
little bit more towards the south. But yeah, so a big bolt of lightning. I just saw it outside my window here. And so of course, the just for some context here of where that would be at, the University of Missouri is located in this area. So that's kind of this is roughly an area where I'm at on the south side of Columbia. And so you'll notice that we do have some of that light rain, which I can attest to is coming down right outside of my window here. So again, that bow echo, that's where the strongest of the winds are going to be. This is along Interstate 70 from this storm. And then just to the south, we've got that additional severe thunderstorm warning across the Lake of the Ozarks area. That's also for some 60-mile-per-hour winds. And then we've also got the ongoing tornado warning that is in effect across McDonald and Newton County as well. And the rain and the wind is picking up across the area.
Absolutely, Jake. Important to note there's some recent developments. Of course, a new severe thunderstorm warning right there where you are in Columbia, Missouri. So we'll continue to follow that again at a prime location for that. Of course, and naturally, of course, as we mentioned at the top of this broadcast, again, we've done a number of live streams tonight. We thank you all for tuning in. Again, our most loyal viewers and listeners out there who have been tuning in back to back to back for these live streams. Certainly, we thank you. And again, an important thing to note on that front, as always, when we do live streams, of course, with YouTube, with the Great World Productions YouTube channel, well, these live streams will be available for video playback after the fact. So, again, these are live events. We're covering them as
Uh,
they're going on. But if you happen to come across things again after we end the live stream, again, it is still possible to watch for playback. Jake, we have new developments.
yes, I am actually going to have to leave to take shelter for a moment, but you can continue here with the live stream. I'll go ahead and I'll pull up the radar here if you want to give some updates if you want to, or we can also end the live stream, but I am going to have to take shelter at this moment in time.
Absolutely. Yes, Jake. Certainly take shelter. So, again, a severe thunderstorm warning there at Jake's location. You'll have to pardon the interruption, folks. Of course, there in Columbia, Missouri, a new severe thunderstorm warning has taken effect. So, I'll have to pardon the interruption. Hopefully, we will have Jake with us momentarily. Again, his usual recording setup there, again, is not apparent from all that is included on your screens now, again, though, is near a window, which, of course, is one of the things that you want to avoid in the case of severe thunderstorm warnings. Of course, certainly in the case of flash flooding and different things. Not that we're necessarily seeing flash flooding in Columbia, Missouri yet, though, of course, Joplin, Missouri currently is under a flash flooding threat, and that isn't merely radar indicated. This is a threat that we've actually seen. We've actually seen some of this flash flooding around the greater Joplin area, so you want to take the proper precautions on that front. And it's too common. We hear all the time whenever this flash flooding and different things are going on, whenever roads are flooded, whenever there is standing water, perhaps even while it's still in the process of flooding, while it is just pouring down. And folks, you are bound and determined to get to where you're going again, and you've got a good, sturdy, reliable car. And again, it's at a decent height where you should be able to avoid the water altogether. But again, still got the possibility of hydroplaning there, and chances are, if there's a question about it, there's a good chance that that is going to result in hydroplaning. Again, if history has been any indication of that, and we certainly wouldn't want that to happen. So if there's somewhere you've got to get immediately, we recommend taking another route. Again, if your usual route involves standing water, again, some flooding at that location, well, you want to take another route if possible. But by all means, if you don't need to be out and about during these severe thunderstorms, again, we recommend just staying inside. Again, just sort of waiting out the storm, as it were, as your best chance at staying safe. So, of course, we mentioned just moments ago a tornado there, of course, as is typical, started out in Oklahoma around the Grove area and again has expanded. There, of course, was a tornado sighted. The area for that warning has been extended quite recently to the very edge of Oklahoma and has now extended into southwest Missouri. So, again, parts of southwest Missouri under a tornado warning. That means that there is a credible threat. Again, a likely imminent tornado in the area there in southwest Missouri. Again, started out first, of course, with McDonald County. Again, now is affecting Newton County as well. So McDonald and Newton counties affected currently under that tornado warning. So if you are in that area, you of course want to get to the lowest, most interior room of your house if possible. You want to avoid, again, being out on the road, certainly in your vehicles and mobile homes, different things like that, because mobile homes are, of course, mobile. They don't have permanent foundations, so they're more liable to be again, sucked up by tornadoes. So, again, a real risk there. And even in lesser degrees of storming, as we mentioned, we can still have credible threats, still the possibility of injuries. As we mentioned just moments ago, we've already had a couple of injuries, even closer to home in our listening area. We've had one, of course, and not far at all from here, just outside of Lamar, Missouri. We had a tractor trailer truck, again, roll over, again, injuring a person. We had another injury just out of Columbus, Kansas, where a piece of a house, again, flew out and injured a person. So, again, quite possible. And that is not even a tornado. That is simply a severe thunderstorm warning. So, still quite possible of causing injuries and different things. We need to treat that as such. So, again, if possible, again, get inside and be prepared to, again, take shelter in storm shelter, again, if you are lucky enough to have one in the event that that risk is elevated, that it turns to a tornado warning, something like that. As we know, again, possibility, we've already seen the tornado warning that began, of course, there in Oklahoma, expand into southwest Missouri, and it appears to still be an active threat, to still be moving, though, of course, we mentioned at this point is radar indicated threat, though, again, given the context, given the cycle as a whole, we know that tonight it already has produced tornadoes, which makes it all the more likely to produce another. And, well, as we mentioned before, why isn't this one being observed? Why can't anyone see it if it's such a serious threat? Well, again, it's likely because it's already produced tornadoes that it's doing another. And as for the question, why can't we see it? Well, it's possible that it's a rain wrapped tornado, which makes it very difficult to see. And Jake, it appears that you're back now, so it appears that the conditions are more stable now there in Columbia, Missouri. Hopefully, everything is all right on your end after having to take shelter for a moment. Jake, it's good to have you back. How are things going on your end?
Yes, and so there was definitely some heavy wind that came in. We're still dealing with some lightning. You may even hear some rumbles of thunder occasionally that are going to be moving through the area, but it looks like at this point in time, the worst of the storm has passed. There was a hail risk, of course, as we mentioned. I was getting alerts that there was hail nearby. But I actually didn't see any hail. The winds picked up to maybe 30 miles per hour at a maximum. I have not seen any 60-mile-per-hour winds, so I think either the storm weakened before it hit here in Columbia, or the 60-mile-per-hour winds were somewhere else within that line. So we'll have to see what the after damage reports come in here. But that severe thunderstorm warning across this area that I'm included in still does go in effect. And again, for 60-mile-per-hour winds. And so at 10:25, it was located at 13 miles west of Columbia. Of course, now it actually has moved through the Columbia area. And then this still goes for Boone, Cole, and Montauk counties until 11:15 p.m. And again, I can confirm that at least at this point in time in and around Columbia, that we are still picking up some heavy rain, but at least that wind risk has moved out of the area. So that is some good news. Looks like we have our first severe thunderstorm warning with the new with that new line of thunderstorms that's developing across Kansas. So this goes for 60-mile-an-hour winds and quarter size hail, or penny size hail, excuse me. So 60-mile-per-hour winds are going to be the primary threat with that storm. That's just east of Topeka, moving towards Kansas City, or at least a little bit to the north of Kansas City. So we still got some time until that moves into the Kansas City area. So that line is going to be pressing through. We'll have to see if it does strengthen, because if it does, then we could be dealing with additional thunderstorms across our area once these storms move out. Getting an update here on some of the other storms. So we did have a severe thunderstorm warning across Lake at the Ozarks that had a history of producing strong winds in Lamar. That storm has now weakened below severe limits. So that is good news. So basically, we're down to 3 severe thunderstorm warnings along this line. We've got the one here that I'm in Columbia. We've got this one around the Stockton Lake area that we've been talking about a little bit here and there. Let's look a little closer at that one. So 60-mile-per-hour winds. This one goes until 11 p.m. And then we've got this one here across northeastern Oklahoma. And I believe there is the possibility of some rotation within this storm. So that's something we're going to need to watch. This could very easily be upgraded to a tornado warning. We've got 60-mile-per-hour winds and nickel-size hail associated with this one here. So some of the same areas that have already been impacted here are under that severe thunderstorm warning. And again, that goes till 11. And let's see, at this point in time, we do not have a tornado possible tag. But again, I would not be surprised if we did see some rotation. If there were to be a tornado, I think it would be in this area just to the southwest of the J area. But the real tornado threat that we have, at least at this point in time, is going to be with this tornado warning just to the southeast of Joplin, not including Joplin. I want to clarify that. And this goes in effect for quarter size hail. Again, we've got that tornado risk, and that goes in effect until 11 p.m. Central Standard Time. That includes the Neosho area. This goes in effect for parts of McDonald and Newton County. So again, if you're in this area, make sure that you take shelter immediately for a tornado risk. So we're dealing with that. So those are some of our storms that we're dealing with along this line. Of course, we've also got that flash flood warning around the Joplin area. We've got some flash flood warnings ongoing around the Tulsa area. Then we have that additional line of storms that has developed. And so we've got a severe thunderstorm warning ongoing around the Topeka area that we talked about. Some additional pop-up storms across eastern Oklahoma. So McAllister is under a severe warning. We've also got a thunderstorm warning in northern Mississippi. So that's kind of by itself over there. We had severe thunderstorm warnings in and around Iowa. Those have now expired. So nothing in Iowa. Of course, we had tornadoes earlier today across Michigan. All of that has weakened below severe limits. And that's pretty much about it, although we do have a new flash flood warning. So let's take a quick look at that here. flash flood warning was just issued for Barton and Dade County. This goes in effect until 4:45 a.m. Saturday morning. So, of course, there is that risk for flash flooding. And so we've got Greenfield, Lockwood, Golden City under that risk, including Stockton Lake as well. So, again, we've been looking at anywhere from about 1 to 3 inches of rainfall within the last couple of hours. So, flash flooding is certainly a possibility. Again, this is a radar indicated threat. So, at this point in time, we don't have any confirmation that there is any flooding across this region, although we do have that observed flash flood warning across Joplin and Carthage. So that's observed. This is radar indicated, but again, flooding could be happening in both locations. It's just we already know that it's occurring across this one in the Joplin area. So that's really where we're at with these different severe alerts at this point in time.
Absolutely, and a brief clarification on that certainly generally would go without saying. But again, if there were any concern about that, there's sort of course, as we previously mentioned, even with many of these storms beginning to finally again drop out to peter out, certainly you, Jake, you mentioned that conditions were looking a bit less severe now where you are up in Columbia, Missouri. So it was certainly good to hear that. But of course, as we mentioned throughout the night, and as we've seen throughout the night, sadly, we've already seen some injuries as a result of some of these severe thunderstorms. So again, is capable of a great deal of damage, certainly. So of course, a distinction to make here, as we already mentioned, in the case of flash flooding. Of course, many people in the past bound and determined to get where they are going again. Not going to let flash flooding stop them. Again, that turned out to be a bad choice because, again, trying to drive through standing floodwaters, again, at a decently high level. Again, you think your car is fine, you think it's good for it, it's sturdy, a decent height. A lot of times you still end up hydroplaning. So, again, not a risk that you want to take. And when we mention this, of course, these things being radar indicated means they haven't been sighted yet, haven't been observed. That doesn't mean you just shouldn't take it seriously at all, and we're not encouraging anyone to go out and see to check if again if all of these things are actually happening in terms of all of this hail, in terms of all of this flooding. Again, certainly not something you need to be doing. Jake.
Yes, and so I've got some new information to report. We've got a few new warnings that were just issued, so we're going to look at those in just a moment. But first, I want to get to a few new thunderstorm reports that we've had. We had an 80-mile-per-hour wind gust around Pryor, Oklahoma. So there were several storm trackers in the area that reported that. So some even saying that there could have been 90-mile-per-hour winds. So very significant winds that we've seen across that area. We also now know that there was in Anderson, Missouri, which is in McDonald County, far southwestern Missouri, south of Interstate 44, south of Joplin. There was two reports of severe wind gusts. It's actually the strongest winds that we've had reported all day across the entire country. There was one wind gust at 10:15 that was 78 miles per hour, but the strongest one all day was at that same location, and that was an 81-mile-per-hour wind gust reported at exactly 30 minutes ago at 10:19 p.m. So that was the strongest wind gust that we've had so far this evening, at least when it comes to non-tornadic storms. Now, of course, McDonald County, that was where the tornado warning was issued. So it is very well possible that what is coming through as a damaging wind report could actually end up being tornadic winds. And so it's very well possible that a weak tornado moved through that area, and that's why we had winds of 80 to 90 miles per hour. So the survey teams will have to survey the damage in the morning across those areas to see exactly, I guess you could just say whether or not it was a tornado or not. And so that's something we're watching. So now let's go into these new severe thunderstorm warnings that we do have. Again, as we mentioned, so we've now got one Okay, there it is. So we talked about how this new line of thunderstorms is now causing some new severe thunderstorm warnings. There's one east of Topeka. Well, we have one in around west of the Kansas City area, including the western suburbs of Kansas City. This goes in effect for Wyandotte, Leavenworth, Johnson, and Platte counties in Kansas. This comes from the National Weather Service of Pleasant Hill, Kansas City, and this goes in effect until 11:30 p.m. Central Time. At around 10:44, there was the risk of 60-mile-per-hour winds and penny-sized hail. Again, the same storm is going to be headed towards the Kansas City area within the next hour, so that's something we're going to have to watch. We'll also have to see if this same line can develop, then it could move towards our area later on as well. And so that's something we'll have to continue to watch. We also have a new severe thunderstorm warning just to the northwest of the Springfield area. This goes in effect for Cedar, Polk, Lawrence, Greene, and Dade counties. This goes in effect until 11:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. At 10:44, a severe thunderstorms were located along a line extending from near the Lockwood area to the Miller area. They were moving to the northeast at 60 miles per hour. This is the same storm that is in and around the Stockton Lake area. This is a radar indicated threat, so there's no confirmation that we've had any damage at this point in time, although this is the same storm that left some damage in southwestern Missouri. So it's very well possible that we could have damage from this particular wind storm here. And so just a couple of things here. We have the northwestern Springfield areas included in this. We've got Oliver, Stockton Lake, Stockton State Park, Willard, Mount Vernon, Ash Grove, Greenville, Pierce City, Humansville, Lockwood, and Miller, as well as into Fairplay. So those are just some of the towns that could be potentially affected by this severe thunderstorm warning. Again, that goes until 11:30 p.m. Central Standard Time across this area just to the west of the Springfield area. That is an extension. And well, actually, that severe thunderstorm warning just got extended even more. So let's go ahead and we'll look, I guess, at this. We'll look here at this new severe thunderstorm warning that we have. Let's see. So a much larger area. This now includes Springfield itself. Severe thunderstorm warning for Newton, Christian, Stone, McDonald, Berry, Lawrence, and Greene County. This goes in effect until 11:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Just into us, 10:48 p.m. The severe thunderstorms were located along a line near Pierce City to near Fairview to near Pineville. These storms are going to continue to move to the northeast at 50 miles per hour. We're looking at 60-mile-per-hour winds. And this is a radar indicated threat, as we mentioned. So Springfield, Republic, Big Sugar Creek State Park, Monette, Aurora, Battlefield, Cassville, Pierce City, Pineville. Those are just some of the locations that are under this severe thunderstorm warning. Now, this may actually be some good news because we do have that tornado warning across McDonald and Newton County. It is possible that it's going to be replaced with this severe thunderstorm warning. So this could actually be some good news because it means that that tornado threat is likely weakening within this particular storm. You'll notice instead of a hook echo like we had earlier, like it kind of curled around like this. Now we have a bow echo. And so that means that the tornado threat or that rotation within the atmosphere has likely turned into some straight line damaging winds. Now, something important to note about straight line damaging winds, they can cause damage like a weak tornado. So they can cause tornadic like damage. And so that is something to keep in mind across that area. And there is still that tornado warning in effect until 11 o'clock. So even though it appears that that storm is weakening at this point in time, the tornado warning still remains for Newton and McDonald County. So you should certainly still be in your tornado safe place for at least the next 5 minutes if you are located there in McDonald County or Newton County.
Absolutely, Jake. Of course, we're seeing these severe thunderstorm warnings nearing and in certain cases overlapping with these, of course, this tornado warning. And as you mentioned, in this case, this could be potentially again a cautiously hopeful sign in this case, of course, because there is that possibility that again that tornado warning is downgraded to a severe thunderstorm warning to sort of match the warning in the surrounding area. That said, as we mentioned, it still is currently a tornado warning. So again, severe threat At this point, again, you still want to take shelter as is appropriate for tornado warnings, of course, inside the lowest and, again, most central, most interior room of your home. Again, best chance at staying safe in the case of a tornado. And again, that is what is recommended in the case of tornadoes, in the course of tornado watches, such as, again, parts of southwest Missouri, there in McDonald, Newton County, are under, though the storm itself, again, the cycle, even that tornado previously was part of, again, is still possible. As we mentioned, that it produces another, but it's looking slightly less likely because the storm does appear to be weakening. That one does, again, as well as across. Of course, we've seen a number of areas sort of along the edges across Missouri. Some of these severe thunderstorm warnings are dropping off, so there's the possibility that these storm cycles are weakening and are on their way out, but there's still serious risks, serious threats nonetheless. Jake?
Yes, and so we also have a severe thunderstorm watch that I forgot to mention was issued for the Columbia area as well as kind of in and around Jefferson City. That goes all the way into St. Louis, including parts of eastern Missouri and southwestern Illinois. That goes in effect until 6 a.m. Saturday morning, so a little bit less of a threat for tornadoes. That's why instead of a tornado watch, we have a severe thunderstorm watch across that area.
Absolutely, yes. Important distinction to make there. Of course, as you mentioned, and again, thank you for the update, Jake. Of course, there where you're at in Columbia, Missouri, a new severe thunderstorm warning. So, certainly for the folks there in your area, of course, naturally want to take note of that, take the appropriate precautions. Jake, is there anything else we ought to know about sort of these weather cycles and again, what to expect in the next few hours or so?
Yeah, so I guess we will go ahead and we'll kind of look in advance here. This is from Tropical Tidbits. You've probably seen this before that we use here. This shows us kind of that future radar, which this was from a few hours ago. So, still, not quite lining up with what we're dealing with right now, but, you get the general idea. We've got a new line of storms developing. We've got a complex. This is just a little bit further north than what it shows on here. But as you go over the next several hours, it looks like this, based on the latest run of this, and I mean, I think we would all be happy if this is the case, but it appears that over the next few hours, that this new line that's developing around Kansas City may actually just fall apart. And so that would be some really good news, of course. And so based on this, it looks like that the rain would move out of our area by about 1 or 2 a.m. It's likely when we would be looking at the end of our severe weather threat. Of course, we still have that tornado watch across Nevada and Joplin until 1 a.m., the severe thunderstorm watch until 6 a.m. across the other areas that we mentioned. We are still under that elevated risk for severe weather, including that risk for tornadoes across the yellow area, that 10% category where we have that more elevated risk for tornadoes across western Missouri and as well as into eastern Kansas. And then that wind and hail threat, a little bit of a lesser threat, but still something that we are going to have to continue to watch as we go through the rest of this evening. And yeah, so we're going to continue to watch that very closely, but it looks like that we are at the top of the hour here. So if you're just now tuning in, this is GWP Live, our severe weather coverage for March 6th. We started this particular live stream at around 10:20 p.m. It is now, though, 11 p.m. Central Standard Time here in the Central Plains. We are tracking an ongoing severe, potentially a severe weather outbreak at this point in time. So far, just to catch you up on some of the latest, we've had some 60-mile-per-hour winds that's led to some power outages. A semi was overturned in Lamar, Missouri, with some of those 60-mile-per-hour winds. We also had some stronger wind gusts reported in McDonald County of around 70 to 80 miles per hour, potentially even winds unverified of up to 90 miles per hour in northeastern Oklahoma. We've had several reported tornadoes in Oklahoma. So far, we haven't had any reported tornadoes in Missouri. We've had a few hail reports. And then much earlier today, we even had some severe weather across the state of Michigan, where we did see a few tornadoes across the Michigan area as well. So that's kind of an update on where we're at the top of the hour.
Absolutely, yes. Top of the hour update here on GWP Live. Some of those ongoing storm cycles, of course, we've been covering throughout the night. And again, we thank you all for your support. Again, all of our loyal listeners, viewers out there, of course, we've done multiple live streams throughout the night. So we thank you all who have tuned in back to back to back for this severe weather coverage. Again, some great information to know, especially if you're in these areas. Though, again, it's been a little while since we mentioned, though certainly you still have the opportunity, as we are still live on the air here. If you have any questions, again, if you are in any of the areas that we're talking about, again, if you'd like to have more information on that, if you're a little bit outside, again, dealing with some weather concerns, certainly don't hesitate to reach out. One place you can ask those questions is in the live chat right here alongside our live video feed. You can also call in and ask those questions at 417-448-0819 and ask about all those concerns. Again, those severe weather concerns. At that number, 417-448-0819. Now, Jake, any new developments, anything else we ought to know about the developing cycles we've been looking at?
Let's see. So let's just look at how many alerts that we have. So we've got 12 active alerts. We don't have any tornado warnings, so that's the first time in a while. We have 8 severe thunderstorm warnings across the U.S., 4 flash flood warnings, and I'll point all of those out to you. We've got 2 severe thunderstorm warnings still ongoing across northeastern Kansas. Now moving into the Kansas City metro area, we've got 2 severe thunderstorm warnings along this line in southwestern Missouri. And then we've got 2 severe thunderstorm warnings across northeastern Oklahoma and northwestern Arkansas. We've got this individual storm just to the southeast of Oklahoma City. And then we do have a storm southeast of Memphis. And then we have those ongoing flash flood warnings across the Joplin area. Those have now been extended to the northeast of Joplin. And then we've also got flash flood warnings in and around the Tulsa area, just outside of downtown Tulsa. So that's what we're looking at this point in time.
Absolutely. Well, I thank you again for the update, Jake. Of course, a number of different storm cycles still going on. Again, as we've mentioned time and time again throughout these live streams tonight with the severe weather coverage, safety is paramount. So, certainly, if you're in any of these affected areas, again, certainly a lot of the yellow here on your screens. If you are viewing your map there on the radar, we're looking at your severe thunderstorm warnings. Again, still serious warnings there. We still do have a tornado warning, I believe, Jake, and that, of course,
That just
is
recently expired here.
recently
So that was the
expired. Okay, so
storm.
no tornado warnings active at this point, eh?
Yes, although it would not surprise me because we are seeing, well, we've got, it looks like a little bit here, maybe some rotation southeast of Pierce City, but especially north of Pierce City, southeast of Circoxia, Missouri. Would not be surprised if we got a tornado warning here, just because that's, since we're looking at some rotation, a bit of a hook echo south of Interstate 44. Yeah, would not be surprised if we had a tornado warning across this area. So if you are in this area, I mean, I would recommend taking shelter if you're in like Mount Vernon. I would say probably not yet in Republic, not quite. But I would say if you're in the area, Pierce City or Mount Vernon, I would shelter like a tornado because this is a very suspicious hook echo that we have. So would not be surprised if we soon yeah, would not be surprised if this turned into a tornado warning soon. It's kind of looking that way. Even this area has a bit of a hook to it as well. So a couple of hook echoes right here, one right here, and an area right here. So we'll have to see. Those could turn into severe thunderstorm or tornado warnings. They're already severe thunderstorm warnings, but they could turn into tornado warnings. So also, we've still got that bow echo. You could see some strong winds east of Columbia, probably 30, 40 miles per hour, but the main threat has weakened there, so no severe thunderstorm warning with that. Still getting some light to moderate rain here across the Columbia area. And then we've got severe storms just to the west of Kansas City as well. So that's kind of where we're at this point in time. So again, no tornado warnings, although I would not be surprised if that were soon to change, just because of, as I mentioned, those hook echoes. I'm a little bit concerned about that.
Absolutely, Jake. As you mentioned, now tell me if I'm understanding this correctly on the hook echoes. It seems that those hook echoes, the more severe the the curve is, the more favorable those conditions are for a tornado to form. Correct?
Yes, and so the idea of it is, and let's see, I guess not to get too specific, we'll
Hmm.
just kind of break this. Well, I mean, yeah. So yeah, the more this hook, the more pronounced the hook is, the stronger the risk is for a tornado, because that means that we have more air where there's no rain, and so then that allows for that rotation to happen in the atmosphere. So that's part of the reason why. There's a few other reasons, but that's really the main reason why a stronger hook echo shows a higher tornado risk, at least most of the time.
Okay, okay, certainly. And as we mentioned, they're looking like a quite pronounced hook echo there in the area. Of course, we've just been covering, as we mentioned, should be fine for now in terms of that. If you're in Republic, Missouri, there, Mount Vernon, on the other hand, Jake, as you mentioned, may go ahead and take shelter for the tornado. That meaning, of course, going to the lowest, most interior room of your home. Again, if possible, you want to do that. Again, make those preparations. So, as we've mentioned, of course, the tornado warning that we had is now expired. Though, again, on the short term, it's looking like with some of the patterns here, some of these curves, as we're looking at, and Jake, it appears a possibility that that could actually be upgraded. Now, and in the long term, as we mentioned, we've been covering this for a long time. At this point, some of those severe thunderstorm warnings seem to have dropped off kind of along the edges. Things seemed to have slowed down a little bit and seems to be on its way out. But it could flare up still a little bit here on the short term, as you mentioned, at the very least, there seems the possibility that here in this area, kind of around Mount Vernon, even expanding into Republic, but again, right there around the area, possibility the way it's looking that that could be upgraded to a tornado warning, huh?
Yeah, I would say, let's see, we've got really two areas that I'm looking at, one around Monette and then the other one north of Monette. And I think I would say probably this northern one. Yeah, this one I think has a higher risk. That one's still a risk, but I think it's going to be that one. There very well could be a funnel cloud with this storm. It's
Okay,
possible. So if you're
okay.
along Interstate 44, just to the west of Mount Vernon, or even in Mount Vernon, you could be looking at potentially a funnel cloud. I don't anticipate that, or I don't think that this is on the ground right now. I don't really have any reason to believe that it's on the ground, but I think it's very well possible that a cloud could be at least lowering the funnel cloud.
Right, at least, of course, not yet, hasn't been cited, hasn't been indicated a threat there on the ground in terms of that. Again, possibility that will form a funnel cloud, as you mentioned, though not an indication that it's happened yet. Jake, anything else we ought to know about what's going on here?
Yeah, so we have those flash flood warnings across Joplins. Those are still going on. Let's see, we mentioned the severe thunderstorm warning west of Kansas City. So that's something that's ongoing at this time. And also the storm west of Ottawa. We've got some that could be, I don't think we're looking at any damage, but we could be looking at some small hail. You got those little specks of white in there, so that sometimes indicates some small hail. And then it looks like some winds of around 50 miles per hour. So there is a special weather statement that says 50-mile-per-hour wind gusts across that area are possible. So yeah, it looks like we're good across Jefferson City. Jefferson City's kind of getting into that rain. We're good there. We got some heavier rain just west of Columbia. That's about to move in. Nothing of concern there. More storms here across western Illinois. Yeah, so overall, it seems like that this area along Interstate 44 is really the main area that's at risk at this point in time.
Absolutely great. So, kind of that area along Interstate 44, the primary area at risk here, and really the only major concern at this point in this cycle. So, again, thanks again for the update on that, Jake. We, of course, are tracking that continuously as we have been throughout the night, and we've been able to get off for the most part at this point. Jake, I don't know how things are looking in your area at Columbia at this point. Things are fairly tame. Again, no rain really at this point coming down in Nevada, Missouri, in way of different precipitation. Again, there at least doesn't appear to be a whole lot going on in our local listening area here. Again, so we mentioned previously, luckily, it would appear that we've been able to get off without any interference from that weather. Again, oftentimes we have a lot of cloud cover that will interfere with some of the satellite signals. And of course, you'll notice we are in separate locations. You probably noticed we mentioned that along the course of the broadcast. Of course, I'm here in Nevada, Missouri. Jake, you're there in Columbia. Again, joining us by satellite tonight. So, again, there is that possibility. It does happen on occasion where different weather conditions make that difficult. They interfere with that, and it always complicates things when we bring, again, severe thunderstorms, lightning, and different things into the mix. Again, using anything electrical, there is some risk of that when you've got a great deal of lightning in the area, though up to this point, it appears that we've been able to get through fairly clearly at this point. If you have had any issues with that up to this point, you can put those in the chat, and we will, to the best of our ability, address any of those issues, any of those concerns. However, it does appear that up to this point, we've been able to, again, have decent luck with delivering this live coverage of the storm cycle going through the area. Again, a number of new developments on that, with a lot of the severe thunderstorm warnings across the state. Of course, recently we had a tornado warning, which has now expired. And of course, as we mentioned, in the grand scheme of things, in the short term, we've seen some of those severe thunderstorm warnings around the area, kind of across Missouri. The ones along the edges kind of drop off. Again, some of those conditions cool down, which again would make it look like the cycle is sort of on its way out. On the short term, though, still possible it will have a little bit of a flare up. Again, some very suspicious, some concerning looking. Again, bow curve, as you mentioned, very pronounced, which again, as you said, sort of indicate again possibility forming those funnel clouds, which can become tornadoes. So again, possibility momentarily will be updated to a tornado warning there. Though at this point, doesn't appear to be a whole lot of change on that, Jake. Unless there's anything else, are there any new updates?
Yeah, so it again, there is that oh yes, there is an update. Okay. I just saw it. Yeah, the wind threat went up a little bit.
Yes.
Let's see. Okay. All right, so this northern severe thunderstorm warning. So we've now got some new information. It's still radar indicated, but as of the latest update, we are now looking at the possibility of 70-mile-per-hour winds. So the wind threat has increased from 60 to 70 miles per hour, radar indicated. So now we're looking at a considerable threat with this storm, including considerable tree damage. Damage is also likely to mobile homes, roofs, and outbuildings. So the wind damage will likely be just a little bit more severe across these areas. We're looking at Bolivar, Stockton Lake, Willard, Mount Vernon, Pierce City, Miller, Pleasant Hope, and Morrisville are under that severe thunderstorm warning. We also have a new update. There is now, which I was kind of anticipating that this would happen, there is a tornado possible tag with that severe thunderstorm warning. So I would recommend, if you are in this area, particularly this northern severe thunderstorm warning, I would recommend that you take shelter immediately across that area. So again, severe thunderstorm warning. This includes Polk, Lawrence, Greene, and Dade counties at 11:10 p.m. Central Standard Time. The severe thunderstorms were located along the line from Walnut Grove to near Ash Grove, 7 miles northeast of Mount Vernon, and they were continuing to move to the northeast at about 60 miles per hour. It's particularly this line right here, like this bow echo. That's where we could be looking at 70-mile-per-hour winds. And again, there is that possible tornado around the Highway 96 area, as mentioned in the severe alert. And then we've also got, let's see, do we have no update on the severe thunderstorm warning to the south? So this is for 60-mile-per-hour winds on the south side of the storm. On the north severe thunderstorm warning, that's where we have the risk of tornadoes as well as some 70-mile-per-hour winds. So 70-mile-per-hour winds for this severe thunderstorm warning, 60-mile-per-hour winds for this one.
Absolutely important distinction to make there. Of course, a couple of different severe thunderstorm warnings across the state of Missouri here. Of course, the northernmost one having those more severe winds up to 70 miles per hour. Again, the one below the southern one slightly lower at 60 miles per hour. Again, still quite high wind speeds nonetheless, but in terms of the highest wind speeds, and in terms of the most severe there, again, capable of the most damages, we're going to be looking at that northern severe thunderstorm warning area. So, important thing to mention there. And another distinction worth noting, of course, you mentioned you were anticipating this, and again, still possibility. Again, if anything, this is an indicator of it. Again, that this one severe thunderstorm warning has gotten that tornado possible tag. Now, something we discussed this previously, Jake, and perhaps I need to go back and watch our GWP severe weather preparedness video, as many of the folks at home may also want to check out, all available here on the Great World Productions YouTube channel. But I regret I do not recall exactly the difference. So we've already talked about at length, of course, the distinction between a tornado warning and a tornado watch. Of course, a tornado watch are the conditions that are favorable for a tornado to form. Again, the possibility of it. Again, a tornado warning most often is when that threat is imminent and when those tornadoes, those storms are actually sighted in the area. Now, Jake, I suppose my question here is, where exactly does the tornado possible tag come into that equation in terms of, in comparison to a tornado watch, a warning, in terms of the severity, and what's the distinction? Where would this one be used instead? This tornado possible tag that we're now seeing.
Yeah, so the tornado possible tag is any time that we have a severe thunderstorm warning where there's a possibility that there could be a tornado, where the tornado warning is basically that there's a stronger possibility. So I guess you could say that a tornado warning is issued if there's like a 70% chance that there's a tornado, which is not, we're just not necessarily drawn to scale, but you could say that the tornado possible tag is only when there's like a 20% chance. And again, those numbers are not to scale. It's just to prove that it's a lower possibility that the storm is containing a tornado. And so that's the purpose of the tornado possible tag. But the tornado warning, that's when you have more of your imminent threat, because the risk of a tornado is a lot higher than what you would have in comparison to a tornado possible tag.
Absolutely. Well, that's some great information and great to really put it into perspective here. Of course, the difference between a tornado possible tag, a tornado warning. Now, in terms of the grand scheme of things, I reckon the broader question as to sort of the severity of it. Now, tell me if I'm understanding this correctly, or maybe that this isn't the necessary part of it. Tell me if I understand correctly. So, kind of the least severe with the favorable conditions for forming the tornado. That's, of course, the tornado watch. And, of course, the most severe, where the tornadoes are the imminent threat, that would be the tornado warning. Now, am I correct in understanding that the threat, the tornado possible tag, comes just before the tornado warning in terms of severity. So it sort of goes a tornado watch, tornado possible tag, tornado warning, or is that not the proper understanding of it, Jake?
Yeah, and so the tornado tag and tornado warning are both for an active threat, and the watch is meaning that conditions are favorable, and so that's over like a large regional area. The tag is under a severe thunderstorm warning, so again, that would be next in line as you mentioned. So it's next in line. It's a tornado tag is within a severe thunderstorm warning, and then you've got a tornado warning, which means that the risk for a tornado is a lot higher, or it could actually be occurring. Sometimes it is. And then the final one would be a tornado emergency, which means that a tornado has been confirmed and that it's causing significant damage.
Right. So fortunately, we've yet to see a tornado emergency tonight, and from the sound of it, Jake, that seems to be sort of the gist of kind of the scale of severity in these different types of alerts relating to tornadoes. And it sounds like also this that we're seeing now, of course, this tornado possible tag attached to an existing severe thunderstorm warning is sort of a transitional thing. That's when we generally see it, is attached to another severe weather alert, isn't it?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, well, that's great to know. Certainly, we are, of course, continuing to follow the severe weather across our state. A number of different severe thunderstorm warnings. And of course, one of those recently had a tornado possible tag attached to it. So we are following that one in particular, but a number of those across the state. As always, we are taking questions. If you have any of those, you can put them in the live chat alongside your video feed here. You can call in and ask those questions at 417-448-0819. Great opportunity to have those questions answered live on the air. All those burning questions you might have about this ongoing weather cycle. If you'd like to do that, again, the number is 417-448-0819. We're just following this as these developments, as these updates come in. And Jake, are there any new updates on this? Any major breakthroughs or developments?
Yeah, not at this point in time. And so for that reason, we're going to go ahead and we're going to end this live stream. Just want to throw out a couple of final things here. The severe thunderstorm warning in Mississippi, that expired. The ones that we had in southern Oklahoma, that expired. And then the one here in Columbia expired. So now we're just down to the one west of Kansas City. And then we've got those ones along that line, along Interstate 44. And then we've still got those flash flood warnings around the Tulsa area, as well as the Joplin and Carthage areas. And so that's where we've still got some of our ongoing alerts. Otherwise, that's pretty much all the alerts that we have at this point in time. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to end the live stream at this point in time.
Absolutely, and an important distinction to make on that, of course, a little bit of a disclaimer, something that we haven't necessarily gone into a great deal of detail on previously, though a lot of you have probably already figured it out because we know, of course, our viewers, listeners out there, again, some of the smartest people around. So surely you've already figured out this on your own. But again, if you weren't sure, again, on the off chance that you weren't, of course, we are covering this throughout the night. As we previously mentioned, we've had previous live streams already. Again, we thank you all who have tuned in back to back to back for this. But that said, again, we understand this is fairly repetitive coverage. So certainly, again, if you're not able to listen to it now, again, past your bedtime, as long as you're in a safe spot, that's what we're most concerned about, is your safety. So again, if you're in a safe area, again, if you're following the proper precautions, that's great. Again, you don't by any means, again, there are great benefits to be gained by it. Don't need to be listening to this at all times. And if you want to tune in and listen to it later, again, perhaps following day, if you want to listen to this tomorrow, it will be available hereafter. Even when we're not live, this video playback will still be available on our YouTube channel. So again, whenever you may be tuning in, we certainly thank you all for your support, and we invite you to tune in for many of the other great offerings of Great World Productions. Of course, the Great World Podcast, GWP News Weekly, where we do our more regular weather updates, occasionally GWP Weekly Recap, and a couple of brand new series, GWP What in the World and GWP Words of Scripture. And that about wraps things up for now. Again, wherever you may be tonight, we thank you again. So until next time.
Oh, yes, we do have some new information that just came into us, so we'll go ahead and we'll cover that before we sign off for this particular update. We just had a tornado warning that was issued across northeastern Oklahoma and northwestern Arkansas. So we've got Delaware County and Oklahoma, Benton County, and Arkansas. This from the National Weather Service in Tulsa shows that we do have a tornado warning in effect until 11:45 p.m. Central Standard Time. At 11:17, a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located 4 miles northeast of Colcord, moving to the northeast at 40 miles per hour. And so again, it's going to be kind of in this area, as we mentioned, to the northeast there, and then moving into northwestern Arkansas. Bentonville is over here. Bella Vista is over here. So not affecting Bentonville, but Bella Vista certainly could be impacted by the storm, as Bella Vista is under that tornado warning. So if you are in this area, you need to take shelter at this point in time. And again, that includes Decatur, Maysville. We've also got some other cities, as we mentioned, under that tornado warning. And we're also looking at the threat of some quarter-sized hail as well. So that is going to be a possibility as we go forward in time.
Okay, certainly a possibility of that. So, again, important development on that front. We mentioned previously that a tornado warning that had been in effect expired. We now have a new one in effect. So, of course, if you're in that area, you want to naturally, we keep saying it because it is important to take shelter in the lowest, most interior room of your home, if at all possible. Again, best bet at staying safe in those circumstances, which we will continue to follow throughout the night as these things develop. And that about wraps things up for now. Until next time,
I'm Jacob Fulmer.
I'm Isaac Hedges, host of GWP Live. From all of us at GWP Live and Great World Productions, good night and God bless.